Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Divine Truth Tarot. I will be your intuitive guide and your reader. I'm Sarah. I wanted to just come on and do a quick reading today. I have a course here coming up in about 20 minutes, but I wanted to jump on and to complement the reading that I did earlier. A really strong message that was coming through today from the Divine Masculines. And I know that I said I'm not going to focus on them, but when a message comes up, I'm going to go ahead and deliver it because it's obviously important and somebody needs to hear it. So if you haven't watched my other video, go ahead and watch that. I don't know which one's going to upload first because the one is taking 2 hours to upload. But there's a distinct message that's coming through from a group of Divine Masculines, and that is that I knew that you were different. So that's this message of he knew that you were different from the get-go, from the start of this whole thing, from the very first night, the very first day that you met. He knew that you were different. He knew that you weren't like the rest. So I wanted to pull some cards to clarify this. And I went ahead with the Osho Zen deck here, and I've already pulled some cards. Right off the bat, we see postponement, right? 4 of Swords, 7 of Pentacles, Patience in this deck, and the Void card, the Nothingness card. Nothingness card is actually the Hierophant in the Osho Zen Tarot. So there's a different interpretation than you would find like in a traditional tarot deck. So the Hierophant, thinking higher wisdom, right? Think of that Sagittarian energy, higher learning is going on. And as well as they're aware that there's this postponement. They're aware that this separation has been prolonged. They're aware that you're waiting. They're aware that they've kept you waiting. They're aware that this is taking longer than they'd hoped or expected. And they see you sitting there. And the other card we have here is creativity, which is the Empress. And what I love about this is you can see, you know, the fertility in both of these cards. You can see this energy of they regard you so highly, divine feminine, and there's nobody like you. I mean, who else would have the patience, you know, to hold it down while they're away, while you're in separation, while they're working things out and really getting their affairs in order in the 3D. And that's exactly how a masculine would speak. I'm getting my affairs in order. So who but the divine feminine would be able to do that? Really nobody. And so the divine masculine is recognizing that. They're recognizing your efforts. They're recognizing that you've been holding space for them while you've been going about your life. And they see you as this fertile, creative goddess who literally has, you know, the world, you know, at the palm of her hands, and who's able to create beauty wherever she goes. And they see you doing your thing. They see you. And it's almost like I said in the early reading, they don't want to interrupt that energy. They're afraid of, and that's part of the postponement here, is they're afraid of stepping in and maybe stepping on someone else's toes, or just stepping into the picture when you're already really settled, balanced, and happy. They want to make sure that they come in correct, and that they don't come in and literally like tear apart the piece that you've created in their absence. So that's a strong message that's coming through. Now we have Beyond Delusion and Past Lives, okay? So Beyond Delusion is the Judgment card. Past Lives is actually the Moon card. But typically the Moon card represents illusion, okay? There's some sort of illusion. But in this deck, it's speaking of past lives and the influence of the past lives that you've shared together with your Divine Masculine. And it's literally like these cards go so beautifully together, because the Moon card traditionally represents illusion. Then we have Seeing Beyond Illusion here, which is the Judgment card. Okay, so we have the Judgment card. We have self-redemption, self-forgiveness, which of course will always bleed over into all of your relationships. So self-forgiveness always leads to forgiveness of others, starting with forgiving self and then forgiving others. So we have this beautiful energy here of these Divine Masculines in this group. And I feel like it's a small group, but they wanted to reach out and say, and this is really for those Divine Feminines who have been doing their work this year, who have not held on, and who have not been clingy, who have not been possessive, who have been able to really let go and release, especially the second half of this year. Might have been a struggle in the first half of the year or the first quarter of the year, but in the second half, coming into that inner union, you know, in late summer, and then really reaching this place of just peace and fulfillment and wholeness within oneself. So it's like they're saying, they're acknowledging this, and they're saying, you know, I know what it looks like here on the outside. I know what it looks like. And I know you've been sitting there, and I know that it's taking longer than we both hoped. I know this. I didn't think it would take this long. And frankly, they didn't think that you could stay away from them this long, and you didn't think that they could stay away from you this long. So there's a little bit of mirroring going on there. And this energy of seeing past the illusion for both of you, because a lot of these masculines have sort of convinced themselves that, oh, she's moved on with somebody else. She's happy. Why would I bother? Like, why would I again disrupt her peace? She's worked so hard to get where she or he is, because they see you shining. And yet, you know, Three of Pentacles, they're receiving guidance from the higher realms, from their highest self, the highest version of self. And they are heeding that advice, believe it or not, feminines. They are. And they're in this place, like they're recognizing that they put themselves. It's like they're saying, I recognize I put myself in this place. The Three of Swords and the King of Swords. Okay, this is mental entrapment, the illusion of being trapped. When you feel trapped in your mind and when the ego takes control, you feel trapped, period. And it doesn't even matter. Like if you're trapped in your mind, or you're closed off in your mind, it doesn't matter what else is going on in your life. Nothing is going to flow. And look, I mean, there's tears of sadness here, but they're rainbow tears being shed, which tells me that these tears have actually led to this individual being able to step into their emotions more fully, a full surrender. The ice is melting. Okay, the ice that's been around their heart is melting, and they're realizing that this doesn't serve them to appear tough, especially to you. Like that tough act, that tough guy act is not impressive to you. Much like money is not impressive to the feminines, much like power is not impressive to the feminines, much like a fancy car is not impressive to the feminines, or fancy clothes. And the masculines realizing what's really important, and they have to shed these tears of this past version of themselves and how they used to try to control everything in their lives. And can you imagine, like, I hate to say it, but what a stick up the ass like that must have been, to have to control everything. Controlling the money in the bank, controlling your children, controlling the way people perceived you, right? How the Joneses, like keeping up with the Joneses in the neighborhood, and, you know, and comparing your house or your car or your job or the money you make with the people in the neighborhood. I mean, that must have been absolutely exhausting, masculines. So I can only imagine that these tears are genuine tears of letting go of that false sense of security and that false sense of entrapment, that false self, the false mask that was worn to impress other people. I'm not saying the feminines have not worn that mask, because feminines were wearing that mask, especially in regards to dating, especially in regards to, you know, before they met the masculine. There was a lot of masks worn with their family members, okay, with trying to appear normal. And that mask has gone out the window for both the masculine and the feminine. This masculine has dealt with a lot of stress in their lives. The Seven of Wands. It's like they've been on overload, and it's like I'm hearing and feeling they're about to burst. And there's this energy of like, the rebel is the emperor, okay? Breaking the chains. Look. Breaking the chains of mind control. Breaking the chains of illusion, okay? Breaking out of this energy of I have to be like tough, and I have to be the tough guy, and I can't show emotion. Emotion is weak. No more masculines. That's distorted masculine. The divine masculine cries. The divine masculine leans on the feminine for support. The divine masculine is open. The divine masculine talks and communicates. The divine masculine doesn't hide things. The divine masculine doesn't like to hurt those around them. The divine masculine does everything they can to empower themselves and get themselves out of any situation or away from any person that disempowers them. Yeah, this is a man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to burn bridges to get there. Okay, it's a very powerful man. Five of Pentacles is always my feeling left out in the cold card. And the message I feel like we're getting from this masculine who's saying, I knew that you were different, is, you know, they knew. He felt left out in the cold, like he didn't know how to get in to that place where you existed. The feminine existed in this other realm to him. Like he met you, and that first conversation was mind-blowing to him. He didn't realize somebody like you actually existed. He didn't actually realize. He dreamed it, he thought about it, he daydreamed about it, he actually physically dreamt about it, but he had no idea that that actually was real. And so this time of separation has made him feel like he's on the other side of the fence here. And even if you're in communication, there's like a lack of connection, okay, that's happened for most of 2020. But the masculines really needed to go within, and they weren't able to communicate properly. So they probably came off very cold, very self-loathing, very distant. But this is how they felt in regards to you and your life, feminine, because it's like they looked at you like this beautiful creature that had it all together. She's got it going on. How could I possibly add anything to her life or his life? How? So it's like they felt like a child in your presence. And if you'll really look back, feminine, you'll see that your masculine probably acted very childlike around you. And I think I said in the other video today that I posted, you know, my masculine, we would spend this time together and it would be so playful and so loving and so lighthearted. And then he would get ready for work, you know, and it would just be this energy of seriousness. It was like this total detachment from the inner child. And he would tell me, you know, you bring out that side of me. I feel like I can let loose. I feel like I can just relax. And I would remind him, like, this is really what life's about. And so the karmic partner or the karmic influences in their life, they don't remind the masculine how to relax. They want the masculine to work. They want to make sure they bring home the money. They want to make sure they get what they want. They get the fancy car, the fancy home, the fancy clothes, and they don't care about the masculine's well-being or health. Whereas the feminine, that's all you're concerned about is, are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing what's right for you? Are you happy? Do you feel balanced? And if not, you know, how can you step into that energy of breaking those chains, not only of illusion, but breaking the chains of people pleasing and being codependent? Because just like the feminine was codependent, the masculine was codependent as well. And the masculine had a harder time admitting it maybe than the feminine, because it's never easy to admit that you have a problem like that needs to be fixed and addressed and healed and looked at. It's easier to push it down or push it away. But in order to become the emperor didn't become the emperor by sitting on his ass. And the emperor didn't become the emperor by ignoring his problems. The emperor became the emperor, you know, ruling the land, ruling his kingdom by addressing his inner demons. You can see that. And he's breaking ties, breaking the chains of, you know, those demons that have plagued him for so long. So the masculine is saying, I feel left out. Like, I feel like you are living your life and you're surrounded by beauty, you're surrounded by love, you're surrounded by acceptance because you accept yourself, feminine. And I hadn't yet been able to do that when I met you. And he looked at you and he saw you as this deity, this goddess, whether you're male or female, as a goddess-like energy who was creative, who was able to create, who was able to manifest, who believed in all of this higher vision, this higher energy, the spiritual realms. And a lot of this was new to the masculines, who are very logical, very rational. So the masculines were in awe, absolutely floored, in awe of your presence. And initially it was so beautiful. You know, you were in touch, you were talking all the time, they were making time for you, and then something happened, right? A trigger happened. One or both of you got triggered and there was a pullback. One of you pulled back. There was that sense of abandonment. Who's going to abandon who first? And that's usually when the first separation happens. And you usually have a series of mini separations that will lead to a larger separation. That's what many of you have gone through in 2020 and even parts of 2019. So the energy is moving forward for this masculine, moving out of this place of feeling left out in the cold. I really like it because we have the Page of Pentacles and we have the Eight of Wands. So fast forward moving motion, right? Moving forward, moving with a purpose is always how I see the Eight of Wands. It's moving towards something. It's not just running for the sake of running or just going on an adventure for the sake of going on an adventure. This card kind of feels and looks a little aimless, but if you notice, we have two cards here dealing with the inner child. So here's the inner child feeling left out, and here's the inner child saying, I'm going for it. I'm breaking out of this. I'm stepping out of this. And you know what I didn't realize here is here you have a locked gate. Look at this locked gate. And then you have breaking the chains, breaking that locked gate. So he's going to break open. He's going to break open because he wants to crack open the barriers that he's created to his own heart. That's really what it is. And then breaking the barriers to his own heart will lead him towards you, will lead him towards divine union, divine partnership, the divine path, really. So this is a path that this masculine is walking on. He's not taking this lightly. You know, Eight of Wands is passion. Eight of Wands is, I have a mission. I am a man on a mission. And it may look like he's just kind of diddly-daddling, but what this tells me is he's bringing in this inner child wanderlust with him. Okay, he's not leaving that behind. He's going to bring that, and he's going to deliver that to you. So then the package in which this masculine comes forward, for those of you who this is resonating with, he's going to come forward, and it's going to be a beautiful, lighthearted energy again. It's going to be like, you know, if you thought, where have you gone? You're going to get your answer. That's where you've gone. You're back. We have the Queen of Pentacles, which such a beautiful energy. It has been coming up in readings over and over to signify the divine feminine and the way in which he sees his divine feminine. He sees you flowering and blossoming. He sees you over here sitting on this lotus petal. You know, lotus petals, they bloom in the mud. So you think of the divine feminine like a diamond in the rough, you know, a diamond who he uncovered in the rough. And the roughage is all the other feminines out there, is anyone who hasn't seen him, anyone who's lied, anyone who has been false with him, who has pretended to have his best interests at heart, but in reality just wanted something. The feminine was the first person in his life who didn't want to take something from him. The only thing she wanted was his time and his energy and devotion. She didn't want anything. She didn't want the money. She didn't care about the car. She didn't care about the trips or the vacations. Those things were all bonuses. And sure, she'll take them. Sure, that's great. That's exciting. That's lovely. But that's not what she needs. That's not what she was demanding. And that's not what was most important to her. She just wanted to sit with him. She wanted to spend the rest of her life with him, by his side, supporting him, loving him, nourishing him. And he just didn't know how to accept that, because even going back to his mother, who was likely the first karmic, he didn't know how to accept that. Nobody had ever just given something to him without wanting something in return. So let's finish up here. I have about 2 minutes. Let's finish up by getting just a message from this masculine. He wants you to know, feminines, that he is coming to a period of completion in his life. A cycle is completing. The puzzle pieces are being put together. And we have the Knight of Cups. Wow. Knight of Cups isn't the fastest moving cup. Knight of Cups can get lost in their emotions a little bit. But what's beautiful is that he is lost in his emotions, because that tells us that he's coming out of this energy of the mind. Okay, he's coming out of this energy of controlling, trying to control his life, control his mind, control his decisions, which was absolutely exhausting for him and for the feminine. It didn't lead to happiness or joy or peace or wholeness or fulfillment. It actually led to a lot of sadness, a lot of devastation, a lot of self-abandonment, and it also led to a lot of suppression of self. Okay. So this completion of the cycle, which is the World card, the last card of the Fool's Journey in the Major Arcana, this signifies to me that it's like after the completion comes the Fool card, comes trust. And so there's a lot of the energy of this card, the trust, in the Fool's Journey, which would be the very next card. As soon as he can let that go, as soon as that puzzle is complete, and that karmic, it's like a karmic piece of the puzzle. As soon as that is placed in place, he's free, and he can go, and he can make that free fall, and he can trust. But he has to learn to trust in himself, feminines, because again, he saw you as this beautiful force, like a beautiful force to be reckoned with, and like a unicorn of sorts. And it was hard for him to believe that you were actually real. And then when you left, it was easy for him to say, oh, well, she's gone anyway. I knew she was going to leave. It was that self-fulfilling prophecy, that it was that wound of abandonment, because everyone has always left him. So why wouldn't you leave him, right? So the masculine's like, well, why wouldn't she leave? Everyone else has left. And then he may have even convinced himself, well, the karmic's never left. That's because the karmic doesn't really love you. The karmic wants things from you. And as long as you're giving those things to the karmic will stay. The feminine never wanted or needed anything from the masculine. She may have wanted, but she didn't need anything from the masculine. She was never demanding. She wanted to be with him. She wanted his time, but he couldn't see how pure and innocent that was. Like he saw it, but he couldn't accept it. Because to accept it would mean for him to have to take down his walls and be very vulnerable and admit to himself that this is actually real. And then he would have to make those changes, those necessary changes to be with her. So I hope this message has served you guys well. I hope this finds who it was supposed to find. Sending you guys lots of blessings and love. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a beautiful night. Take care.